Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County, and this show is about Plymouth County real estate. We at the Registry of Deeds record documents, we preserve and protect them, we scan them into our system so they're available over the internet, we microfilm them to protect them in the future, and we create an index system that we can make it easier for people to find them as they go forward. It's one thing to take in millions of land records, it's another thing to find them, and we do it primarily with a grantee-grantor system. Our main goal is to serve the public in a customer-friendly way, and our website is www.plymouthdeeds.org. So let's go to the numbers. You'll see that an image is coming up on the screen of sales of property. There were 971 deeds recorded in October, more than the 880 in September, down 1% from last year's October at 985. But for the first 10 months of the calendar year, we're about even, which is pretty good when you look and see what the impact of rising interest rates have been on the real estate market. The next image you're going to see is of mortgages. Now, mortgages have been more affected by rising interest rates because a lot of people that used to refinance are not refinancing anymore. They're still using mortgages to purchase properties, and there were 1,734 mortgages recorded in October, more than the 1,542 in September, however, down 13% from last October. And for 10 months in the calendar year, they're down about 8%. Again, most of those are a drop in refinancing. We continue to track foreclosures. A foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken back property from an owner based upon usually difficulty in paying, failure to pay the mortgage. There were 57 foreclosure deeds in October, more than the 44 in September, 50% higher than the 38 last October, though overall we're down significantly from the crisis stage of around 2008 and forward. And for the first 10 months of 2018, we're 14% lower than last year. The next image you're going to see is of foreclosure notices. Foreclosure notice is the first document we see at the registry that shows someone's in trouble. There were 82 foreclosure notices recorded in October, up from the 74 in September, 11% more than last October, and pretty much even through the last 10 months. Many lenders are getting caught up with properties, homes that were delinquent, which were delayed by lawsuits or changing regulations. So if anyone finds themselves in trouble, don't wait. Try to reach out to a federal housing counselor to help you modify your mortgage. Saved a lot of people in keeping their homes, which is what everyone's goal is. And I advise you to do that sooner rather than later. The next image you're going to see is a listing of foreclosure notices and deeds by community, all the way from Abington down to Whitman. There are 27 communities in Plymouth County. In Brockton, Plymouth, and Wareham have been our traditionally most difficult, challenged communities. As you can see from the listing, some of those numbers are higher than others. Though I can tell you in the foreclosure crisis since 2008, every community, every one of our 27 communities have been affected at some point by a foreclosure deed or foreclosure notice. Some information about the registry that I'll share with you. We have a great guest in the next segment, Robin Thomas, our department head of Land Court, who will talk about our new e-recording for Land Court. We've been electronic recording, basically, which is recording documents over the internet on recorded land for over 8 years. Our Land Court was a little more complicated, but now that's up and running, including live documents, live sales, and certainly as a customer convenience, electronic recording both on the recorded side and in land court side is very convenient to people. You can run those closings from the law offices or from the lenders that submit them, and really is a great way to save gasoline, save stress, get the document right in your file after it's recorded. And one of our modernization efforts that the Registry of Deeds across Massachusetts and across America have been focusing on. Our training room will be opened to the public next on December 6th at 9 o'clock. It's a free hands-on training session for how to efficiently search the Registry of Deeds. Beware, there's a fraud alert available to people on our website rather, that you can sign up for, and anything recorded against your property will be notified to you by email. And we still have our Rochester Historical Society in the settlements of Plymouth County display, and it's a great place to visit, a lot of history in our building. And I will say we have a great guest coming on the next segment of the show. Robin Thomas, who's our land court department head, will discuss the new modernization effort at the registry to record land court documents, including live sales over the internet. So we'll see you in the next segment.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley. In this segment of the show, we always try to do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, assessors, many realtors over the years, and other people involved in real estate. We have a great story to tell, and I have a great guest with me today. Robin Thomas, who's the department head of our land court, is here to talk about what's happening in land court, in particular, the fact that we are now electronic recording documents to land court. So welcome, Robin.
Thanks for having me.
I know you've been on one of my shows before.
Yes.
And I think it's very important that we share what's happening in land court, because it is monumental when you look back to the history of recording.
Yes, it is.
And I know you've been a registry employee for many years. How many?
24 years.
Okay.
So I've seen a lot of changes, good ones.
Yeah, and I know that you mentioned earlier you saw from typewriter to e-recording.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've come a long way. Yeah.
And a lot of people might remember, if they come into our building in Plymouth, on the right-hand side, there's a display that talks about the history of recording, starting with surveyors, the quill pens, the development of the typewriter, the ink, dark ink scanner, the regular scanner, and now electronic documents.
Right, right.
And after the typewriter.
Right.
And we ended that display with the e-recording on the recorded land side, and that was over 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're here with land court, a little more complicated to get here.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated, but we're here.
Yeah.
We're working it out.
Good.
Yeah.
And so we started taking live documents about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, deeds.
Okay.
Yep. And then prior to that, we did assignments and discharges, but now can do the whole gamut.
So why don't you just share with people how that experience has been?
Okay, it's been good. It's been a good experience, and I just want to remind people, when they do land court recordings on the e-file, make sure you have to refer to your guidelines too, because there's a lot of things when you come to the counter, we can write things on the document or refer people to write things. So they have to just make sure that they dot all their I's and cross their T's, and it's seamless really when they discharges and assignments.
But it's not fatal
No, no.
Because you reject it and give them a
No,
reason for it.
if it gets rejected,
and
then
they
we
can
tell you.
resubmit,
Right,
yeah.
we tell you what to do and how to remedy it, and then it goes back in the queue and it comes back and we put it on record.
So the thing that caught me initially was the order of the documents. And a lot of people, when they come to the counter and bring it in person,
Right.
you can just kind of reorganize. And that when it comes in as an internet recording,
Right.
It's in an order and you have to readjust that.
Right, that's one of the things that, sometimes that gets rejected for that, because it has to be in a certain order, because you don't want things noted on a new certificate versus an old certificate.
Yeah.
And, but that's, that happens, but and it just goes back in, and then the submitter fixes them and sends it back in. And it's
Yeah.
really good for people that are out of state also.
Sure.
Yeah, they get, we get a lot of things from out of state, and we don't have to snail mail, we don't have to do that, so.
Yeah, no, I think that it took a while, even on the recorded land side. It's just old hat. People
Yeah.
can just do it so simply from all around the country and the world, even
Yeah,
as long
yeah.
as they qualify for our standards.
Right,
And I think the same thing is going to be true for land court.
yes, I hope so, yeah.
So
Yeah.
just so the public knows, the registry has two sides to it.
Right,
They have the recorded side and the land court side.
right.
The land court side is about 10% of our business.
Yes, yes, and
It is much more complicated. Do you want to explain
yeah,
why?
the land court property, people always ask, what's the difference between registered land and recorded land? Registered land, at one time or another, your property had to go through the land courts. You share a drive, a utility easement, oceanfront, sometime they had to go, it could have been way before you bought the property, and they actually determined the bounds and put the markers on them. So that's registered land. And your land is supposedly more protected because the bounds have been determined by the land court themselves, the surveyors.
You know, on the certificate itself, it lists all the encumbrances.
Right, and your property is encumbered, and the certificate comes, we abstract the deed and we write the certificate, and then the previous certificate, according to the guidelines, we bring forward encumbrances that are going on to the new property. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any other tips for e-recorders?
No, just, you can reference your guidelines,
Yeah.
but no, just be patient and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there are intermediaries that they submit through.
Right,
Simplifile being the largest of
Right.
the three. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have to get them to correct their procedures. I know
Yeah.
there was one today that we're
yes,
working
yes.
on.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
you
we
give
had,
us the people an example of what we had to fix through the
yeah,
intermediary?
today we had a back-to-back deed, so it was the monetary part of it. So
Okay.
the documents were all right, it was just, because we couldn't take two at the same time, but we figured that out.
Yeah.
That's the first one we had like that, so,
And there are filings that are both systems.
yes.
And for now, we're asking people to walk those in.
Right, correct, because they're time sensitive, so they should
Right.
be recorded, coming in on the land court side, and then you go to the recorded side. We hand carry them over, but
Good.
not yet, we can't do those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm really amazed at how your staff has adapted to it.
They're all great. We work hard together in there. Yeah, we got a good
And a
team.
couple people on your staff had previously worked on recorded land,
Yes,
so they brought that experience with them.
yes, and that helped all of us, from how they do it on the recorded side versus over here. So we learned a lot quick, things that we didn't know until we did it ourselves.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, so it all worked out. It's working out fine.
So
Yep.
a lot of people may not know that when I'm elected Register of Deeds, which I was recently,
Mm-hmm.
I get sworn in once by the county commissioners as Register of Deeds, and once by the Chief Justice of the Land Court as an Assistant Land Court Recorder.
Right,
And that whole side of the registry falls under that appointment.
that's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And they just changed the Chief Justice of the Land
Yes,
Court.
Gordon Piper is the new justice.
So we have to make changes in that
This-
regard.
Yes, on the certificates, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So how much is available online for people to search on Land Court over the internet?
Everything should be up to
Yeah.
date. Yeah, it's real time, so it
Yeah.
should be up to date. Yeah,
That's
everything,
great.
documents and everything's all up to date.
Good. Any futuristic things you see from land court? I think this is
I
a
don't know,
good
I think
step.
this is a big one,
It's
to
a
be
big
honest
step.
with you, yeah. Yeah,
And we were the first of the software program. We were kind of the test case
yes,
for the conduit, now changing its name, software. The other registries have Brown Tech, and they were able to
Yeah.
adjust to it a little more quickly.
yeah,
But now I got a call this morning from the Register of Deeds from Bristol County,
yeah.
Bristol North, and he wants to come down and
Oh, good.
look what you guys did
Oh,
and
good.
bring his staff down and kind of watch it.
And they have-
as we did when we went
Yeah.
up. We went up to Norfolk.
So he has conduit too? They have the
He
same?
has conduit.
Oh,
yeah.
good, that'll be good.
And there'll be a number of others that'll
Follow.
follow what we did and maybe come up with some ideas that we can
Yeah.
do differently
Yep.
when we're all pushing forward together.
Yeah,
But land court's a fascinating
It is.
difference.
yes,
And people should look at their deed, and if it has a book and page number on it, that means they're part of recorded land.
right,
If it has a certificate number on it, it means that for some reason, over the years, it was a land court property.
right. It became a land court property, because everybody starts in recorded land, and then there was a dispute, then they go out and survey the property, and then it becomes registered land.
But I know the legislature made a change maybe about 4 years ago, that they allow people to deregister land and take them out.
Yes.
How often does that happen?
It doesn't happen that often, and particularly it happens on condominiums a lot, because
Okay.
they get their bounds determined.
Sure.
And then they deregister it, and the guidelines are a little different on the recorded side versus the
Okay.
registered side. So it makes it easier for
So it's
them.
already established as a boundaries
Right.
and all the docs that are recorded on the land court side for the condominiums.
Yeah.
But then when they take it out, it's easier to transfer.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I was curious as to how many
Yeah.
have taken advantage of that. How often a month do you see that?
Maybe once,
That's
not
all.
even
It's not-
sometimes, yeah.
That's not that significant.
No, no,
Great. So as we go forward, it's another option of modernization. And
Yeah.
we very much appreciate what you and your staff have
thank
done.
you, thank you.
And I know that other registries will be trying to follow our model.
Okay, sounds good.
So great. Well,
Looking
thank you.
forward to it.
Thank you for
All
coming
right,
on the show.
thanks, thank you.
Oh, great.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
So welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. And Robin Thomas, our Department Head of Land Court, did an excellent job describing our modernization effort to allow recording of land court documents over the internet. It's one of our modernization efforts at the Registry of Deeds. I want to thank her and her staff for the efforts they put in to work our way through this. We're one of the first counties in Massachusetts to do this. And I will say that all of our staff at the registry were involved in this project. Our IT department, Christine Richards, Tim White, the assistant Register of Deeds, and others, making sure that this project would go off smoothly and we can offer this service to the public. It's going to be a great thing going forward. And basically what it does, it saves a lot of people from having to drive down from part of the county, up in the north in particular, or elsewhere from Boston and beyond, from having to drive down to Plymouth to record them by hand. And it'll get better and better as we go through it, and something we're very proud of. In this segment of the show, we always try to do something lighter in nature and talk about our great history of Plymouth County. And I always mention some of the holidays for the month of November. November 4th was the end of daylight savings time. Everyone set their clock back an hour. Certainly better for people leaving work early in the morning. It's a little lighter for a while anyways, till we get through the winter solstice. November 6th was Election Day. Some big news across America in Massachusetts and Plymouth County, but that day is behind us. Veterans Day was celebrated on November 11th. There were a lot of services and parades throughout Plymouth County and Massachusetts celebrating the work of our great veterans over many, many decades. And upcoming from the time of this show is Thanksgiving, which will be the 22nd of November. It's a great holiday. I certainly like Thanksgiving. It's a lot easier on me anyways than other holidays. And there are a lot of great parades, particularly in Plymouth, that celebrate the holiday, and just a great family holiday. In this particular segment, we're going to talk about a couple of our very famous, notable land records, and we're going to start with Mickey Cochrane. So the Red Sox won the World Series, hooray. We weren't so sure about that in our last program, but who knows who from that Red Sox team will make the Hall of Fame. So we highlight Mickey Cochrane, who grew up in Bridgewater. He's the only person in Cooperstown, Baseball's Hall of Fame, Cooperstown, New York, that is a member of that august institution. So Gordon Stanley Mickey Cochrane was born in Bridgewater in 1903. He went to Boston University. He's the only person I know that actually leaded in 5 sports in college: baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and boxing. And he's known as the greatest catcher of his era. He played and managed professional baseball, winning 5 pennants, 3 World Series, and 2 American League Most Valuable Players. He was a very fiery competitor, and he was a contemporary of probably the most fiery competitor in the history of baseball, Ty Cobb. Unfortunately, Mickey Cochrane's career ended when he was hit by a pitch, fractured his skull. He never batted again. He was elected to Cooperstown in 1947. He's the only Plymouth County native to make it to Cooperstown. There's a plaque in his honor off of Route 18 in Bridgewater, again his hometown, on the youth baseball fields, and certainly a person to recognize with his athletic talents. I mean, literally, how many people do you know that led in 5 sports at a major college like Boston University? So this election has come and gone, and we still have the last person from Plymouth County elected to Congress as Hasting Keith. We did have a candidate in the ballot for Congress from Plymouth County. He was unsuccessful. Hasting Keith was living in West Bridgewater when he served in Congress. He served in Congress from 1958 to 1972. He was well known for the establishment of the Cape Cod National Seashore, and he was known as the Cranberry Congressman. He donated land from his homestead in West Bridgewater to the town that extended the size of the War Memorial Park. But he began his political career in the Massachusetts Senate in 1952, elected to Congress in 1958, and he was a very active individual. His proudest achievement as a 7-term congressman was sponsorship of a bill, because he represented Cape Cod for the Cape Cod National Seashore. And there was a cranberry scare during his time in office, and the cranberry scare was based upon the use of pesticides and whether they caused cancer. He led a federal study that convinced everyone otherwise. The cranberry industry was teetering for a while, and his efforts to convince people otherwise resulted in our ongoing tremendous agricultural cranberry industry today. He's known for strong historical preservation and pension reform. The Hasting Keith Federal Building in New Bedford is named after him, and a great individual. Last but not least is John Alden, a notable record for John Alden. John Alden was the cooper on the Mayflower. He is well known as the husband of Priscilla Alden. There's some great information about him throughout America. There's an Alden Kindred of America who celebrate their connection to him. And he's probably best known for a Longfellow poem that was called The Courtship of Miles Standish. Well, Miles Standish wasn't successful in his courtship. John Alden, who brought Miles Standish's interest forward, was connected with Priscilla Alden. She was smitten with him and said, "Speak for yourself, John," instead of Miles Standish. And they married and then moved from Plymouth to the town of Duxbury. Their building where they lived in Duxbury is now a historical site and certainly worth visiting. I want to thank PAC TV for allowing me to produce this show, Lorna Green Baker and Christine Richards from our office, David Antoine, Ben Alexander, and Keith Hughes in his first effort with me today for the help in putting this show together. And they share information, allow us to share information with the people of Plymouth County on for what most people is their most valuable asset. And thank you for that. And I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.